Hey everyone, this is Nick from Houseplant. Today I'm going to be going over some of the good, the bad, and the ugly in my collection. I sort of think of this as a walk through my collection, but instead of going in the tents and stuff, I brought the things out to make it a little bit easier to see. So let's get this started. I want to go through the good first. Got to make space for this first one since it's one of the biggest. I stashed it at the back. Not thinking this through. This is my favorite game to play. Maneuvering leaves around emergent leaves that I really don't want to damage. Here we go for number one on sort of my things that are making me happy right now. The Rhodolantianum species. I don't know, if you're Australian, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. But over here, it's a little bit less common. Beautiful texture and quite velvety. The reason it is my favorite, or one of my favorites right now, or doing real well, is because it's got a flower, which is kind of fun. You can see the flower is actually purple, which is pretty fun. Yeah, here's the Anthurium Rhodolantianum. Definitely one of my favorites. Give you guys a peek of the roots. They're an absolute mess now. So this is one of the guys that I trimmed the big roots that were popping out. I don't know if there's any visible around that side, but I did that, and you can see there's so many tiny little hairy roots now that have taken over the pot. It's like sometimes like a healthy plant with a healthy root system does not mind when it's called for roots being pruned in order to encourage branching. Here's the Rhodo. Okay, next up on the plants that are doing good things for us, this Carlisle 5x10. I know I'm always showing this plant off. I just can't resist when video after video, timeline I should say, week after week, it just keeps putting out the hottest new leaves. It's doing more flowers. You can see that white thing popping out of the petiole. That's what the flower looks like at this point. Yeah, this plant just keeps giving me reasons to be happy and appreciative. And this one is out front is the emergent leaf. That's why it's a bit of a different color from these other leaves. Here's the Carla. As always, doing great. I guess I should say, besides the new leaf and the new flowers, another reason I'm quite happy is it appears we are good on this flower. Got a hybrid with it coming out soon. See, it started to go green and there's the bumps on the spadix are getting bigger. And that's sort of a good sign that at least took. There's no guarantee it'll actually go all the way through, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. At least we're in the right direction. This next one, like as much as I want to bring it out, I don't think there's enough depth from the camera, but we're gonna give it a try. Here we go. Got Anthurium warocquianum. I mean, I think for pretty obvious reasons, it's one of the good ones for this video. Huge new leaf, still very soft. Actually not as soft as I thought, but you can sort of do the flop test. See, it's got probably quite a bit of size. Maybe 10-20% bigger still to go based off of how firm the leaf is. I'm terrible about pruning old leaves, especially on my queens. I got two because I removed all the previous ones because they were annoying me by being slightly yellow around the edge. I don't know what it is about queens, but I just find I like to look at them better when they're pruned down and all the leaves are facing forward. Oh, here are some fun ones I don't always talk about. Here we've got a new one in the collection, the Ace Eastern Dress from Woohoo Tropicals. This is just a very exciting plant for me. See how dark the previous hard foliage is. This leaf is still emergent out front. Very good size up. Why I'm so excited about it. Starting to get some roots around the edge of the pot. Yeah, very excited to be growing this one. This new leaf has brought me lots of joy as it's been emerging and it just kept getting bigger. I had no idea when it was going to stop. Yeah, and it looks to be already working on its next one. So very excited. And last up on the besides an honorable mention, is this Golden Dragon Variegata. Got this one a little while ago and it didn't really have any roots. So the reason it's moved to the good list is up here, right here, you can see there's a nice big fuzzy root. So the thing started rooting and, so I've got to go back to holding it that way. The growth point has started to get bigger. So I'm hoping that means it's got roots. Well, I know it's got roots, I can see the roots. But I think that means there's a leaf on the way. Might be out of the woods on this guy. The reason I like this plant, I know there's not very many philodendrons in my collection. I like this one because it sort of resembles the mature Florida Beauty without any of the work of maturing a Florida Beauty, without it losing its variegation. And I really only appreciate the shape of the Florida Beauty when it's like super mature and it sort of has that more like skeletal shape. But yeah, it's the Golden Dragon. Let's do the honorable mention before I forget. So for that it's a little bit different. How do I do this? Oh shit. Seedling down, seedling down. This last one I'm going to try and hold it up to the camera. See, and that is some Anthurium berries that I started harvesting this last week from the Fort Sherman XL. So yeah, I got lots of berries from that guy. Figured I'd show you guys what they look like. And I've been taking the seeds out and popping them in a takeout container until they germinate. Last time I germinated them all sort of in cells in a prop box, but it was a real pain in the ass. They didn't all go at the same speed, so some of the cells would have one plant sort of shade out the rest, and then those guys obviously didn't grow very fast. So it's like, are they a runt or were they just shaded? So this time I'm going to put them in here, and as soon as they get sprouted and start going, I'll pull them when they start to root. And it's just some moistened tree fern, pumice, and perlite. Okay, now we're going to get into the more interesting, so the bad and the ugly. And the way I distinguish between the two is the bad, something's going wrong, and the ugly is just cosmetic. So, you know, good roots, whatever, whereas the bad, like, it's asking for help. So let's do this. This guy. I'm always talking about it, saying negative things, and it's only my fault. This poor guy, gal, whichever, this is an emergent leaf. It's quite messed up. See, the whole bottom is destroyed. And yeah, so I know what's going on. It's not the happiest. It's got pretty good roots, but it would prefer more breathing. And it's under a lot of stress now from holding 2 inflows. I did successfully pollinate another inflow on it. And on top of all of that, with this mess of emergent leaf, it's pushing another inflow. This thing really likes to give flowers, and it's making it ugly in the process. So what I'm hoping to do is, the second this leaf is not super vulnerable, I'm going to give it a repot. And then hopefully with the bigger pot, grow a bigger root system. I can take a look, make sure there's no catastrophic rot. I thought there would be. However, it's continuing to grow at a decent speed and flowering more, and it's still holding its previous flowers. And the leaves are more just being sucked back. So I think the thing is actually just outgrown its pot in terms of what it wants to do, and it needs some more space so it can build a bigger root system to support all of the crazy growing it's been doing. So yeah, I don't really know what to say on this one other than that. I definitely had it in here thinking there's something wrong with it, but now that I'm seeing, you know, more flowers and these old ones, the berries are continuing to develop. Should be maybe another month or 6 weeks before harvest. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they just are cosmetically causing you problems. Oop, 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 I'm tearing it. I tore it. I tore the new leaf. Okay. A good rule of thumb when you're trying to diagnose anthurium problems is this yellowing around the edge you see is usually a sign of stress to the root system, which is what my initial thoughts were when I was diagnosing sort of all these sucked back, dried out, crisped edges around the tip. Something that can cause it is insufficiently dechlorinated tap water, or water with other sort of high levels of impurities that the plants aren't accustomed to. They like to push out the impurities in the edges of their both root system and leaves. So what you can see often is a little bit of damage starting around the edge, which then takes host to opportunistic, often fungal infections. So you'll get these horribly fungally edges, and usually what your problem is isn't an airflow or what have you, unless you have an airflow problem, which it can definitely be. However, the source of the problem can be, 1, an immune issue with the plant, or 2, some sort of imbalance going on in the root system. As I'm learning now, sometimes option C is the plant is just sucking back its growth in a half-assed manner to give a bunch of new growth, because even as I dig, I'm hitting insane amount of root after insane amount of root, all of it really healthy. So I think the plant is begging for a repot. And I really hate repotting things that are holding inflows, especially with ones that are so close to being ready. However, I just put this new pollen on it, and I definitely don't want to wait until I harvest this inflow, because that would be like many months away, to repot, because I think the plant would continue to not appreciate being left here. And this is the inflow I definitely want more than the other one. So for the health of the plant and honestly the yield of this inflow, I'd rather risk losing this one on a repot, and maybe even this one, because this is ultimately the only one I care about. Yeah. Be that. Next up on the bad, we've got this Alocasia Frybeck. The reason it's on the bad list is it keeps doing more white than green, and the thing is slowly deteriorating. So I'm kind of just keeping it alive, hoping I maybe get a corm out of it that does something good. So at this point, the plant has too much variegation for its own good. Yeah, I mean, I don't really intend to do anything about it. I'm probably just going to let it live or die by its own decisions. It hasn't really sized or anything, just definitely way too much white. Next up on the plants that are doing bad, this teeny little guy. Not really much to show you. This is my Delta Force from TC. It's not been doing so well. It hasn't really grown, and the leaves it came with have just melted away. I'm hoping there's a little bit of greens. It has one little root, and it hasn't done anything. It's the same root it had in the flask. Yeah, I don't know. I want to put this guy away, so figured I'd show it off, give you guys an update. It hasn't been growing so hot. Other ones from the same batch have been growing. I just haven't had any luck with this one. And to be clear, none of the ones this is the only one in my care. The other people who are growing it well got different ones from the batch. Once I got up to put it away, I'll bring it up close to the camera. Yeah, I moved it into straight stratum. I've tried it now in a few different things to see if I could get anything to happen. And with it declining like this, I figured I would throw it in some stratum and put it with the seedlings and hope something comes of it. Last up on my plants that are doing bad, this guy right here. And it's doing bad for kind of an interesting reason. Clearly it's growing well, right? Nice big leaves and everything. Flowering lots. However, I've started to notice a problem with this plant. So originally I bought it as something, it's not what I bought it as. I'll say that. And the problem I'm having with it isn't necessarily that. It's that it doesn't actually seem to be able to produce hybrids. So this is, I think, I've pollinated it 3 times now. They've all taken. However, once they start to form berries, the inflows end up rotting from where they looked to have taken. And with that, like, I've dedicated so much space. It's like a nice big plant, good foliage, and you know, it'd be nice to make hybrids. I've tried Best AF on it twice now, and both times it looked to have taken, and then months later it eventually just sort of goes away and I lose the inflow. So I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do with it. It's flowering again, and I don't really want to keep it just as foliage, especially since, you know, it wasn't what I bought it as. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I don't know, do any of you guys have plants that are sort of sterile and just don't make hybrids like that, or what? Because it's kind of weird, because it's definitely like a crystal mag hybrid of some sort. It's got the square petioles. No luck making hybrids with it. Okay, now we're going to get into the plants that are ugly but otherwise healthy. So, and I'm going to try and go through and explain why, when I know they're healthy and what's making them ugly. To start off with this Kunia lens, it should be pretty apparent why I describe it as ugly. Got these like really rippled, funny looking leaves recently. So the reason it's been getting these is with how deep it was potted into here. The new leaves, when they're trying to get up and over the rim of the pot, they get stuck in water sort of pools on them. And so while it's hardening the leaf with the water pooled on it, it gets this stunted, warped look. So the plant's otherwise healthy, it's got good roots. So I'm just gonna let it keep growing until it gets sort of tall enough or big enough to get over the edge of the cup. And it's already got another leaf on the way, so it hasn't even necessarily slowed its growth at all. One sec, the cat is scratching up a storm trying to get into the bedroom. She wanted to come say hi to Peaches. She's been doing good. Gotta make a new category for the fluffiest. Figured I'd give her a little bit of attention. She was begging, so it's either this or she makes noises off camera until I give her the attention. Next up on the ugly, got the DF. I know it's sacrilegious to say this. However, new leaf got beat to hell, which was, you know, always really sad, because I feel like when our special plants work on a new leaf, it always hurts a little bit more when they take some damage. I know every plant is special, but sometimes it hurts more when other plants take damage. This guy was just ramming its leaf into the tag. Or if you notice the size difference, and I'd say this leaf is probably full grown. Obviously the previous leaf is. I'll let you guys in on a little secret. When I uppotted it, I did remove the original chonk, and with that came some of the root system. So whenever you remove roots or repot, you can have a little bit of a size loss. It's nothing to be worried about. This inflow looks to be going nowhere. It's healthy. It's got good roots. You know, it was only recently put into this pot, so the roots aren't pretty crazy yet, like with the rhodo. However, it's healthy. You've got signs of new root growth. That's what I always look for when I'm trying to determine whether or not a plant has an issue. So normally when I would see a smaller leaf size like that, especially if I didn't just do a repot in a crop, I would always look to make sure that I'm seeing signs of healthy root. And since I'm seeing signs of healthy root, I'm not going to worry. So there's further evidence of an issue. So that's why it's ugly and not in the bad list. I could never call this plant bad. Got 2 more plants to get through. One of them, I don't think I've ever shown. Can't remember. It might have been in the background of my first video. Next up, we've got this Anthurium splendidum, or what I should say, what remains of this Anthurium splendidum. So this guy, I don't think I've addressed this yet. I put it on a heat mat and absolutely cooked this guy and lost its old leaves. So down to just this literally the tiniest fraction of one leaf. So the reason this guy isn't on the bad list is because it's been a few months now, but I'm starting to see signs of life. There's good signs of rootage. The caliphyle is sort of greened up and it's starting to get a little bit thicker around the base, which I find is usually a sign that new growth is coming. So this guy's been upgraded from the one I'm keeping a close eye on, because when it was going downhill, it was literally within 24 hours, it went from a nice 3-leaf healthy plant to cooked spinach. So it's been a bit of a journey to just even get it stabilized. So I'm happy to see it making moves towards being healthy again. Last up is my absolutely destroyed by sunburn fiddle-leaf fig. This guy was actually my first house plant, so I got it from IKEA so many years ago. Tiny little plant. It's now in leca, but I moved it outside when the weather got warm enough to allow it, and I kind of let it just get sunburned to all hell. The patio gets a little bit of direct sunlight in the morning. I didn't think it'd be enough to fry it. I should have known after winter of being indoors with really minimal to no light. But yeah, the plant's healthy, but burned. So these leaves are probably all goners. Kind of fun. I managed to, I'm gonna pull this up. Oh, we're now hitting the ceiling. I managed to convert this guy to leca a couple, not last winter, the winter before last. So it's been kind of good. Made it really easy to care for. Ficus in general, I think, make pretty good plants for hydroponics, but I will say, be prepared to lose your fiddle leaf fig. This thing, it did almost die making the conversion, and I have a friend who's tried a few times without luck. So I guess I did get a little bit lucky. However, here's the thing. I'm kind of thinking I might want to stump it down to maybe a foot or two of trunk, just because it's super skinny and it sort of blows around pretty aggressively. It's always been an indoor plant and definitely hasn't gotten the best light. And actually after I repotted it, I did lose the main growth, and that's why it branched the first time. So I'm thinking if I cut it again down low, I could encourage a couple of branches from down there and maybe thicken up the trunk some and get, new growth that isn't on the end of this sort of bendy, spindly little trunk. Yeah, I think that's it. So that is the last of the ugly plants that I'm working on. So the fiddle leaf fig there, that was all I had planned for this video. I wanted to take you guys through some of the things that are going well, some of the things I'm imminently needing to work on, and some of the things that are just not looking so good but are otherwise healthy. Thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate all of the comments, views, and support I've been getting. It's been really wonderful getting to share all of my love for anthuriums with everyone. I hope I've been able to help in some sort of way identify problems in your plants and to like. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I always enjoy having conversations with you guys down below and talking a little bit about plants. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.